start today. We're having some trouble with Google Hangouts, but everything is good now. I'm your host, Adam, and I'm joined tonight by my co-host, Trish McCallan. Lindsay Broker couldn't be here tonight with us. She's on vacation. She said she's in a cabin in the woods somewhere that she probably wouldn't have good internet connection, so I guess she doesn't. And as Mimi were saying before, she hopes it's not like the start of like a horror story or anything like that, so no kidnappings or anything. So tonight, though, this is going to be our first real roundtable discussion since the new format. We're actually going to approach a topic, which we'll talk more about in a minute, Kindle Unlimited, and go across our special guests and see what each of them feel about it and what they've done with Kindle Unlimited so far. So speaking of our special guests, we have 3 of them tonight. So just starting out, I will introduce them a little bit, and then I'll let each of them tell you a little about themselves. So tonight we have Wayne Stinnett, Rachel Aaron, and Mimi Strong. And we will start with Wayne. So Wayne, did you want to give us a quick little bio of yourself?
Well, I'm probably the newest writer of the bunch here. I just published my first book just a year and about 2 weeks ago. This is all sudden and real new to me, and I'm having a real hard time catching up with everything.
All right, and we'll get more into his journey into self-publishing, especially Kindle Unlimited and Select in just a minute. And so everyone probably remembers who's watched the show for a while. Rachel Aaron was on the show not long ago, but she's with us here again to talk about Kindle Unlimited. So do you want to introduce yourself again as well for new listeners?
Absolutely. My name is Rachel Aaron, and I was just on here, so I hope you guys aren't tired of me yet. And I am the author of 8 traditionally published books, starting with the Legend of Eli Mompress series, published through Orbit, and recently as Rachel Bach, the Devi Morris sci-fi trilogy called Paradox, starting with Fortune's Pawn. And I have just recently self-published my first, well, I self-published 2K to 10K, which is probably what most of y'all know me for, but I also just recently self-published my first fiction foray into self-publishing, which is Nice Dragons Finish Last, which is urban fantasy.
All right, thank you, Rachel. And yeah, you never know when people are tuning in for the first time. So, and I'm sure no one's tired of you yet. So,
I hope not.
So speaking of people that have been on the show before, Mimi Strong is next, and she's been on the show several times, both as a guest and as a host, if I recall correctly. Mimi, did you want to say a little bit more about yourself again?
Hi, podcast listeners, and Trish and Adam. Thanks for having me on. I'm Mimi Strong. I also publish under a bunch of other pen names, and I've been at this for 3 years, and I make a lot of jokes about stuff because that's all you can do.
Okay, so as pretty much anyone who has been paying any attention lately knows, Kindle Unlimited has become the hot topic. Some authors are finding that it's pretty much gutting their sales. Other authors are finding quite a bit of opportunity in it. So we wanted to do our first hot topic on Kindle Unlimited because I think there is opportunity for people to take advantage of this program, even if it isn't working for them. Maybe the way they're using it right now. I went down to the Indie Recon last week, and Kindle Unlimited was pretty much on everybody's lips. Now, some of the things that they were talking about is actually, I know what we're going to be talking about today, because from discussions that I've had with Mimi before, she pretty much nailed it with what everybody else was saying down there. So I'm going to let her kind of bring up her ideas on how to take advantage of this. It was mirrored pretty much by almost every presenter down at Indie Recon over the weekend. I'm a Montlake author, which means I'm exclusive to Amazon, so all my books are in Unlimited. And I'm going to give kind of a little nutshell of what happened when Kindle Unlimited came from my point of view. Now, I'd published Forged in Ash, or I should say Montlake had published Forged in Ash somewhere towards the end of January. And by the time Kindle Unlimited came out, the books were starting to fall. I think they were down to maybe about 20 to 25 sales per day on the US store. When Kindle Unlimited came, sales dropped a little bit by maybe, I don't know, 10, 20%, but borrows went way up. So since Kindle Unlimited has come, my sales have pretty much doubled from what I was making before it came. Probably, well, I shouldn't say sales, I should say sales and borrows have pretty much doubled. My rank stabilized and has been sticking around in the 3,000 to 4,000 range since then. For me, it's kind of been a blessing, but then I've been exclusive to Amazon from the very beginning, so I'm looking at it with those eyes. But it seems to be stabilizing my rank, and it's holding me in the 3,000 to 4,000 range without any promo from Amazon on the US store. So anyway, I know some other people have had different experiences with this, so why don't we go to Wayne? And Wayne, now I know that you said you've got, what, one book out and that you've been published for about a year?
Well, I've got 5 books out now.
Okay.
I published my first one a year ago. Since Kindle Unlimited started, I had, like you, I had a slight dip in sales, maybe 5 or 10%, but the borrows went up about 500%. So to me, it was like having a 5th book published. It was bringing in more than any of my other books singly. So
okay, so now
to me, it was a no-brainer.
So what genre are you writing in, Wayne?
Fiction, action, adventure.
Okay, and what is the price on your books?
First book is $2.99. The other 4 are $3.99.
Okay, so with the dip in borrows, since you're getting what, about $1.50 per borrow, is that then the volume of your borrows is more than making up for what you were losing per sales? Is that what you would say?
I would say that, yeah, but I don't think it's losing sales. For somebody to say that people are borrowing their books instead of buying their books, they would have to talk to that person to find out. There's no way that you could predict that.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. I didn't mean losing sales. I meant losing price point, because you're making what, $2 per $2.99 book, $2.80 per $3.99. So you're losing about half of the price point. So the borrows then are making up for that difference.
Oh yeah, more than making up.
Okay, so have you been doing anything to actually spur the borrows on, or is there any kind of strategy or marketing strategy you've been using to try to keep these borrows rolling in and the sales rolling in?
I recommend Kindle Unlimited, and I recommend people read my books on Kindle Unlimited. But other than that's just on Twitter and on Facebook, social networking. But other than that, I haven't really pushed it anywhere else. It seems it doesn't really need it.
Okay. So now, how about you, Rachel? Could you give us kind of a little bit of a backstory? I know you said your book was an urban fantasy.
Yeah, well, like everything I write, it's a weird mishmash. It's urban fantasy, but there's also some sci-fi post-apocalyptic, and it was a strange beast that didn't quite fit anywhere, which is one of the reasons I decided to self-publish, because I was pretty sure my publisher wouldn't know what to do with it. And I really didn't want this book I didn't want anyone to try and tame it. But anyway, I put my book into, well, when I launched my book back in June, Kindle Unlimited hadn't come out and everything, and I did a full month with no Kindle Unlimited. And things were really great, and I actually have all my sales numbers posted over at my blog, and my website is in my little ticker at the bottom. So you can go and read and see all of the numbers I'm about to talk to you about in detail if you care. But so I released, and I had great numbers, and then my numbers after the 30-day cliff started to fall, like they do. And I looked at the other venues I was on, and I was selling like in the toilet on other venues, on on Kobo and on Nook. And so I was like, well, why not try Kindle Unlimited? If I hate it, I can just leave in 3 months. And what have I lost? 3 sales a day on other venues. So I jumped in with kind of both feet, really honestly in an unresearched panic because my numbers were falling. And it was actually really, really great. Like Wayne and Trish have said, it seemed like I lost a few sales, but borrows just skyrocketed and were easily equal to or even topping my sales. And then my sales started to go up as well because of the extra visibility, because borrows count as sales for sales ranks. So I was getting up on the Amazon rankings, and when I started my fall, I was in about the 600s on the Amazon US store. And pretty much the next day after I jumped into Kindle Unlimited, I went to the 400s and lived there for 3 weeks. And this caused me to actually sell 435 more books in the month I was in Kindle Unlimited than in the first month when my book was first released, when I actually had my best sales days. I just sold very well, very steadily. And a lot of this was due to people borrowing the book, and then several of them decided to buy it because they liked it. And I have my book priced at $4.99, and it's the first in the series. And again, I have an established name, so I was able to do that. And but yeah, it's been a great success for me. I've seen a lift in sales. I've seen more money. I've made probably at this point, about $6,000 total off Kindle Unlimited, and that's one book in Kindle Unlimited, which was a lot better than I ever thought I was going to do. So I'm pretty sold, and I think Amazon is actually being very, very smart in the way they're handling this. They're keeping the rate at 150, which is right about probably the rate to keep us in, to make it worth our time as authors. So I think they're being smart about it.
Okay, and then Mimi, I know that you had quite a few books in there from across several genres. Could you kind of give us a history of what you did there? I mean, I know you came from the other platforms and put quite a few books in, and kind of let everybody know how that experiment turned out.
Sure. Well, I have been publishing for 3 years, so I have a lot of books. I have 70 titles, 70, and that's across, well, some of my names I don't count because they don't really do anything, but 4 or 5 different pen names that actually sell. And on right around July 1st, my sales volume dropped by 50%. And that wasn't just for one pen name. It was actually across all of my pen names. And so if you actually look at my charts, you can actually see a lot of my books went from double-digit sales to single-digit sales. It's like you look at my chart, and it's like there's all black lines, and then there's all space. So that happened, and it was a good 2 weeks before Kindle Unlimited started. So I have a feeling that something actually happened server-side on Amazon to do something with the indie book sales. It could just be an anomaly, that it just happened to be some sort of glitch that affected like multiple pen names that I had, but I've talked to other people who've also detected the same pattern. And what we notice is our books are what I would call marooned by also bots. So if you look at my books, the only also bots listed under any of my books are books that I have written. So I'm not getting cross-author discovery like I used to before July 1st. As well, Amazon has stopped sending out the recommendation emails with our new titles. I've heard some stories of some recommendation emails going out, but it's not as many as it used to be. And that happened right around July 1st. Kindle Unlimited came out, and there was mass rioting in the streets, pitchforks, hair setting on fire, etc. In August, I put in 4 or 5 of my low-selling titles just to experiment, and they went from selling nothing to selling, making some coffee money. So I thought that was good. And then early September, I had a little moment where I thought I might throw up when I unpublished all of my titles from all of the vendors and put them into KDP Select. So that was early September. And I think 2 days after I did that, I saw an announcement that a very popular author had just put a big series into it without being exclusive. And it just felt like Amazon was just like kicking me like so hard. It was really upsetting, because it's a difficult decision to pull your stuff off the other vendors as a pure financial decision, because you want to be able to continue earning money as an author, and to know that you're going to get emails from readers who are confused and upset at you and whatnot. It's not, and a lot of us indie authors are frontlines customer service support with our own customers. So like if we pull our stuff off other vendors, we are going to be the people who hear about it. We don't have some like secretary shielding us from this. So it's a very painful decision. And then, so anyways, but that's, you know, that's an issue that I have with Amazon, but Amazon is their own company, and I don't know, on Amazon, they can do whatever they want. I don't like the different rules for different people, but, you know, maybe I would like them if I was on the beneficial side. So I put all my books in September, and good borrows. My borrows seem to be increasing over time. I think that the KU lending library is, in a way, it's like a vendor in itself. So just like getting established on a site that sells books like iTunes, for example, I think you need to get yourself established within Kindle Unlimited. You need to have, you know, if you just drop one book in there, it may or may not do anything. But if you have a whole series in there, you can get yourself established. A good tactic is to run some sales on your books once they're in Kindle Unlimited, because even though at 99 cents you don't make very much, it gives them a little bit more visibility, and it kind of helps them kind of like grab on.
And sorry, do you write novels or novellas?
I've read everything. I've got short stories, I've got erotic serials, I've got full-length novels, I've got bundles of stuff. So I've got a bit of everything. I would say if you have novels that are $4.99, I have a couple novels that are $4.99, and when my renewal comes up, those are the ones I'm not going to keep in KU. I'm actually going to go back onto the other vendors with those ones. But everything that's $2.99 or 99 cents, I will probably keep it in Kindle Unlimited, because even though my sales are not, even though the KU money does not bring me back to where we were in June, you know, we're living in the post-KU apocalypse world right now. We're not going to get to go back to June. So it doesn't matter what you wish would happen. You have to make the best of what's happening right now. So for me right now, I'm in KU because it seems to be the better of the options. That's it.
Okay, and then Adam, I know that you're doing quite a few different books from your wife. Would you like to give everybody kind of an idea on that? Are you guys in Select with those books?
Yeah, so what happened to us is very similar to what Mimi was saying. We were actually having a couple of, I know there's supposed to be a summer slump, but we were having a couple of the best months that we've had. And then literally, and a lot of that's attributed to having a permanent free at the beginning of a series. And I think that the Kindle Unlimited hurt perma-free a lot. Well, from what I've seen and talked to other people in our experience, the actual day of Kindle Unlimited, our free downloads without promotion per day for our lead-in book went from around 500 to 600 downloads a day down to about 120 one day. And that, I mean, it was an obvious change because a lot of the freebie readers were probably paying the $9.99 and reading, you know, hundreds for free that they couldn't before. So that's one big thing that I've noticed. Our sales also dipped a lot, like Mimi said, in July, and especially when the Unlimited, can't remember the date it came out, but it dropped maybe to about 1/3 of what they were the previous 4 months in a row. And sales are really, really consistent those 4 months, even just not counting new releases and things like that. It was really consistent, and nothing else had changed other that we can see other than Kindle Unlimited. I know I've read about, like Mimi was talking about, algorithm changes right beforehand, and I've seen lots of posts and things about also bots, especially on new books not being correct or taking forever to get them. So in our experience with our main series, we really thought about going all in because of what a lot of people have done, but we actually decided not to try it with the main series that gets most of our money because of the other vendors. You know, I did the math and added up how much it would, how many bars making it everywhere else, and it wasn't realistic even for Google Play alone to do it. And oddly enough, since Kindle Unlimited came out, our sales at other vendors have went up a lot. So I don't know if that's coincidental or if there's a correlation. But for instance, no new books released on Google Play. We've increased our sales there by 6-fold since Kindle Unlimited. So I'm not sure what that says exactly, or if there, like I said, if there is a real correlation, but it's definitely went up to the point where, you know, it has me sweating like Mimi was talking about, getting sick, like, oh God, should I actually take these down or not? We did try with 2 books that weren't selling well on the other ones. We're happy with that just because they get about twice as many borrows as they were getting sales before, and it didn't cannibalize sales, which I thought was, like Wayne was mentioning, you know, it's not taken, you can't tell unless you ask each reader whether they would have bought it or not. And from what I've seen, just with, again, it's only 2 books though, so it's hard to tell, is that Kindle Unlimited wasn't cannibalizing the sales of those series. But for series that you're already selling well elsewhere, I'd be really hard pressed to put them in to select. So.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of just touch on some of the things that were said at Indie Recon through the various workshops. As I said, everybody was talking about Kindle Unlimited, and everybody agreed pretty much across the board that if you have short fiction, this is where you want to put it, like short stories, novelettes, novellas. One of the reasons they give this is Kindle Unlimited, the reader only needs to read 10% of the file, basically, for the author to get paid. So if it's a short story, they don't have to do a lot of reading for the author to get paid. I kind of figured out with my book, 10% is about 40 pages. For my novella, 10% would have been about 7 pages. So there's quite a big difference in how much the reader actually has to read for the author to get paid. But even more than that, it seems like the short fiction is actually getting downloaded quite well. The people that had short stories that were not selling anywhere else there were saying that they're actually getting quite a few sales on their short stories. I'm guessing it's because the readers don't mind paying $9.99 to read whatever they want versus maybe, you know, $2.99 for a short story. So that was one of the things that came out at Indie Recon, was simply the fact that it seems to be a very good opportunity for people that have short fiction. So I'm very curious of you, whether you guys have noticed whether your short fiction is selling better in Kindle Unlimited than it was before. Mimi's obviously raising her hand, so I know we've talked about this before, and she was spot on with what she said. So if you want to take that, Mimi.
Oh God, Trish, you keep referencing things and I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no psychic connection with you today. But I wanted to mention, it's funny how people get all worked up about this 10% thing. They think that a bunch of us authors are putting up these short stories and only, I don't know, putting a lot of front copyright matter at the front to trick people into opening it up to the 10% mark or whatever.
That's such a good idea. Why did I not think of that?
You know,
That's so brilliant.
I'm sure people are doing that, but like, call me old-fashioned. I try to get people to read the whole darn thing. I've noticed something that actually has made me have a little tiny bit of confidence, and that is that with some of my novelette series or novella series, with the borrows, it seems that if people get past the 10% mark of book 1, they also read all of book 2 and all of book 3. Across, I mean, it might be different for other people than it is for me, but I think if someone doesn't like a book, they don't even download it, or they don't even get past the first page. I mean, maybe I should be restructuring like my front matter. Maybe I'm missing out on a whole bunch of page open borrows or something, but I actually think it might be, how do I say, the thing that makes me feel good about it is that if all stories basically cost the same amount of money, then people are going to choose to read the stories that they find the most entertaining and interesting. So it brings a focus to craft again. Whereas I think there are some books that have done really well, and they're 99 cents and they're really long books. And I don't mean to disparage anyone, but I frequently will hear people say that it was a good book even though they had to skim through, like speed read through a bunch of chapters and whatnot. And I think there were some people who were buying a little bit more for value, like a little bit more like, oh, it's 99 cents, but it's 400 pages, so it's gonna last me for a few days because I'm a voracious reader and I need this. So I think in a way, I mean, I'm seeing like the what do you call it, like rainbow here, maybe. It might be that it'll put even more of a focus on craft and even more of a focus on keeping the readers engaged with the stories, as opposed to just churning out as much quantity as you can. There's definitely been a push for quantity among myself personally. I mean, honestly, like I feel sometimes like I would like to do 4 or 5 rounds of revisions on this book. I would love to create this book so that it is just like perfect, like straight through. But like I wouldn't have business if I did that. So I mean, I'm not saying, I don't speak for everyone. I'm not saying everyone's cutting corners or anything, but you know, maybe quality is a good thing, and maybe KU will put a spotlight on that.
Well, I think you're right to a certain extent, because they've got pretty much unlimited choices within the Kindle lending library. If they don't like the opening sample, they'll just quit reading and go to something else. So I mean, the quality is going to be what hooks them for a lot of readers. You do have short fiction up, don't you, Mimi?
Yeah, I have some short stories, like 10,000 words, not very many of them. I also have, when I started in 2012 with erotic romance, the erotic serials were very popular, and those are, you know, like 15,000 words each, so they're not very long.
Okay, have you seen an increase on those short stories?
Yes, yeah. But I've also, my stuff is all over the board. It's like I have one novel that it's just like doing freakishly well in Kindle Unlimited for basically, I don't know, whatever reason. People just find it appealing and desirable, and they didn't really want to buy a lot of copies for $3.99, but they're very happy. Out of the whole Kindle Unlimited library, they're happy to borrow it and read it. So maybe $3.99 was just a bit much. So maybe my $3.99 book is competing against 99-cent books, and they're finding see, as I'm talking about this, I want to go back and rewrite that opening. But that's beside the point. In September, across all my pen names, I jotted this down, I had 6,300 Kindle Unlimited borrows. So that's a lot of borrows. So when it comes time for them to announce what the payout is, I'm kind of like chewing on my nails, like, oh.
For September,
like, hey, you buy steaks tonight, or is it like, no?
It's 1.5 for September. You're talking about this month.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I think there's a very good reason it's 1.5. I used 1.5 in my estimate on my spreadsheet, and I'm sure 98% of the other goobers all used 1.5 as their estimate as well. And so I think Amazon, you know, like whatever it was going to be, they were like, listen, like law of, you know, human probability. If you tell a person to name a vegetable, they're going to say carrot. I'll bet you all these goobers put 1.50 in their. I'm referring to us all as goobers. Put 1.50 in their spreadsheets. And so I think, conspiracy nut theory here, I think that's why the lending rate is 1.518.
Because everyone's
because it's a psychological game, right? Like we're suppliers and we're customers, and we're going to get manipulated in ways that we have no idea how we're being manipulated.
Okay, I think Adam said that he has a question for Mimi, so if you want to take that, Adam.
I'll just rant about whatever.
Okay.
Sure, we have one question for Mimi, and then we'll loop around to Wayne again and talk to you a little bit. There's a few questions for you as well, one for Rachel after that. So you were already talking about the short fiction, so you have experience with Kindle Unlimited on multiple links and on multiple genres. Do you see it being a stronger percentage on some genres than others? For instance, are you seeing double the borrows on romance, or you're seeing like quadruple borrows to sells on a different genre, or how are the genres and links comparing to one another?
I'm finding that on my contemporary erotic romance, I'm getting double to triple the borrows as I am sales. And my other genres are not really selling or doing very much, but I have a little baby urban fantasy series, and it's getting about 1-to-1 borrows and sales.
Okay,
but it's definitely a winner for serials.
Okay, and so at the lowest end though, you're seeing a 1-for-1, right?
Yeah, I don't have anything that's in KU that's getting less than 1 borrow for 1 sale.
Okay, and I know you said that the serials were doing very well. Do you see the same kind of numbers? Do you think it's more based on the genre, what borrow rates you're getting, or is it based on price of the book or length or?
I think the sexier stuff sells better. Like I have some stuff is a little bit more comedy and some stuff is a little bit more, promises like naughty business, and that stuff has always sold well, and it's getting more downloads. I mean, I'd love to just write like straight comedy stuff, but like no one's gonna buy it, so dream on. Anyways.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. You were talking about voracious readers before, and it seems like a huge segment of voracious readers are romance or erotica readers. So it also makes sense that those would have a ton more borrows. It just seems like a wider audience than some of the, like you said, more like comedy doesn't sell very well, which you've mentioned before. So, I mean, I guess that would make sense. There's just more voracious readers, it seems, in those genres. So.
Yeah, and it could have something to do with the readers being quick to adapt to things. Like romance readers were some of the first ones to really get into indie publishers in the first place. So it would make sense that they would also be the first into something like Kindle Unlimited. I'm sure we have some, thriller readers who don't even have Kindles yet, and hearing about this Kindle Unlimited thing might be. I mean, this might be part of Amazon's big master plan, is to get those people, those last holdouts, stubbornly clutching their paperback books, to get them to get Kindles, maybe.
All right, perfect. So now, thank you for answering those. Those all came from the comments, and you may have some more later, but we'll loop around to Wayne. He's been quiet for a while, and there's a couple questions for you too, Wayne. So I know that you've, by reading your posts on Kindle boards and things like that, you've been publishing now for a year. I think your 5th novel just came out, right, here recently as well?
Yeah, just last week.
And you've been all in with Select since the beginning, right, even before Kindle Unlimited?
No, I was on Kobo and Barnes & Noble and everywhere else with the first 2 books, and it was right after I published the 3rd book that I even knew about Select and got into it, and all of a sudden I was getting more borrows than I was getting on everything else before over months of time, so there was no looking back at that point.
Okay,
just
yeah.
Since Kindle Unlimited started, I've had 7,000 borrows. I'm loving it. There's no reason to get out yet. They could drop it to 50 cents. I'll be fine.
Is that 7,000 a month or 7,000 total?
7,000 since July 18th when they opened.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I think Amazon does a thing where they kind of pick whatever numbers they want for All Stars. I don't think it's a pure volume basis. I don't know what you guys have been hearing about that.
I was one of the All Stars for August, and it just so happened that I had a huge BookBub ad on August 1st, and the tail lasted all month long, so everything was just icing on the cake after that. So when the All Stars were announced, I got an email saying, "Hey, you were number 43," and I was like, "What? That can't be right." But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Were you in the All Stars for like? Because they do two rankings. One is for like most borrows on a single book, and one is for most borrows total. Were you on the most borrows for a single book, or did they tell you?
It's actually borrows and sales combined. So it's the top sales and borrows per author, and then they have a separate one for individual books. I got one of each. I was number 43 as the author, and one of my books was number 67.
So it's tied to author name then.
Right.
Which might be why Mimi didn't get it. Poor Mimi.
Yeah, if you write with a lot of pen names, your chances of getting in it are really slim.
Oh yeah, that's why some of us were kind of talking about pooling together and putting some fake pen name on there.
Inventing a new super author.
Jeff Devil Bezos. That's our co-author. And then there's like 15 of us, and we're all Jeff Devil Bezos. and when we win the All-Stars, then we just split it between all of us.
It's not a bad idea.
Oh, it's a terrible idea. I mean, I think the only way in the future to really get ahead on Amazon is probably to get into bed with one of their in-house labels. And so, you know, you probably shouldn't make Jeff mad, because then you won't get to come to his annual campfire and roast marshmallows and get nice promo and stuff. So I should just shut up and not come on these shows.
So kind of not on the same topic as campfires, but Wayne, you had said, of course, you were on the other vendors we were just talking about. So we had another question as well. I know you've seen a lot of recent success. So when you came out with your third book, you said you went into Select. Have you had customers contact you, like, you know, why aren't your books on Kobo anymore? Why aren't they on Barnes and Noble? And if so, like, what do you tell them, or do you give them the book on that format still, or?
No, I haven't had a single contact. But then from October to April, that was what, 6-7 months on Kobo and Barnes and Noble and iTunes. I sold a total of 22 books. So if only 10% respond, that's only 2 people. And normally it's like 1% is going to review you. So I don't anticipate getting any feedback from anybody, and I haven't yet.
I know about you guys, but I only really feel bad for the Nook people, because unless they've got like a tech wizard living in their house that can break their device, they are locked in to those EPUBs. But I get emails sometimes from people who want to buy the books from iTunes, and it's like they know that they can get the Kindle app usually, because I'll write back and I'll be like, oh, you can get the Kindle app and it's free and you can still buy any book that you want from Amazon. And they're like, oh, but I like to have all my books kept in like one place. So I almost wonder if how long it's going to take to break those people and have them be like, okay, fine, my books could be in 2 places. They can be in the iCloud and on, you know, Kindle, and I won't lose my mind. You know, it's okay. Like, I understand. Like, I feel for them, but so I like to have all my stuff in one place. But
well, I actually have gotten several angry emails because I had several hundred sales on both the platforms total before I went into KU.
Mm-hmm.
Not like we're talking, well, not several hundred, we're talking like 140.
Mm-hmm.
But I did get several angry emails from people. Oh my God, I wanted to read this book, and I heard about it, and I ran to buy it, and it's not there, and why aren't you on Kobo? And so what I do is I just say, well, I'm sorry, it made sense to go Amazon exclusive, you know, being self-published, this is a business decision I had to make, but I value you as a customer and a reader, so here's a free copy. Because it doesn't cost me anything to give them a free copy and make them happy. And then they're super happy, and they go and they sing my praises on Twitter, and you have a happy customer and a happy reader who's going to love you and maybe next time buy you on Amazon. And so I just kind of take the happy customer approach, and it's worked really well for me. And the couple people I've had have been very, very happy and have like desperately tried to PayPal money to me to pay me for my book. And I'm like, no, please, tell your friends to buy it. That's the greatest payment you can give. And it works. It really does. And because, again, like Mimi said, we are entrepreneurs, and we are the front line of customer service. And providing excellent customer service to your reader is part of being a good author. And if you can just make that person happy by just sending them an EPUB and being like, here you go, knock yourself out, that's worth it to me.
Yeah, I always just send people files. Like, I don't even do that thing where you like try to say, oh, it's a difficult decision. I just be like, oh yeah, I know. Here you go. Here's the file. Like, it's bad. I mean, I know there are probably not a lot of readers listening to this, so I'm not gonna get put on some sucker list or anything. But like, anytime anyone emails me for anything like hard luck story, whatever, I'm like, okay, what do you want? Just send them the EPUB. It's just like, I know some people who will go and they'll get on Facebook and they'll passive-aggressively like post about it, like, I can't believe some people. Anyways, it's just like so much easier to just send the EPUB and move on with your day, isn't it? But I do worry. I do worry that I'm going to be in like violation of KU or something by doing that.
Well, I think of them as review copies.
Oh yeah. Sure. I just think of them as like, there you go. I don't have I don't have someone who's mad at me anymore. I like people to like me. Please, everyone. It's a bad thing. Being a people pleaser.
Rachel, we had a question from the comment. Someone's got some feedback going on. If you don't mind, go ahead and just mute. And unless you're talking or anything like that, I had some people complaining about that too, or else I wouldn't bring it up. But so Rachel, there was one question for you as well. So this is the first that you put in KU is the first in a new series. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And how many days did you have it in the other vendors? I know you said you had a couple hundred cells there already.
Yeah, but again, it's important to remember that I was traditionally published for 8 books. I have a pretty, I wouldn't say large, but a good-sized, very loyal fan base who I love forever and would name all my children after them if I had more than one child. Who went out, and a lot of them, since they came in through my traditional titles, they're on Kobo, they're on iTunes, they're on wherever that they bought my books originally. And so it was a great deal of my Kobo and Barnes & Noble sales came from the first 3 days that the book was on sale when I announced to my fans, and it's the people running out and buying the book who were already fans of me. And then it was after that things just went to crickets, just nothing, because, and I mentioned this in my big numbers post, because Barnes & Noble and Kobo are apparently terrible at promoting books and getting new books in front of reader eyeballs where they can actually decide, hey, I might want to read that. Whereas Amazon, they're recommending to everything, and they've got their algorithms to kind of get you in front of people. And I was not getting that on Barnes & Noble or Kobo. And that was a big part of my decision. I'm just like, well, Amazon's kicking their butt all over the place. Why not try? And as someone who recently just posted a great deal of Amazon tea leaf reading, I do have to say I don't really think it's a conspiracy. I think the best way to think about Kindle Unlimited is to think about it from the business side, from what Amazon's actually trying to do with Kindle Unlimited, which is, of course, to make money. But the way they're trying to make money is the same way Netflix tries to make money, which is to get people to sign up for a service for a set fee that they're not going to use all of. Like, sure, you pay $9.99 for unlimited reading, but it's like going to the all-you-can-eat buffet. You think, I'm going to eat all I can eat, but most of us aren't Homer Simpson. We're not going to eat the entire buffet. We're going to eat until we're full, which is not actually normally the cost of what we don't eat as much as we paid, which is how buffets make money, and it's how Netflix makes money. We don't watch the amount of bandwidth we're technically paying for, or the amount of DVDs or whatever, and Amazon's banking on the same thing. And so the $150 borrow rate, I'm sure, actually is the product of a great deal of back-end math on Amazon's part for how many people have subscribed, how many books are being downloaded on average, and what rate can we pay authors to make sure they still put books in, but while getting us the greatest profit. And I'm pretty sure that's the math behind how Kindle Unlimited borrow rates are processed. It's how much can we pay the authors to keep them from rebelling and from taking their stuff out of KU, because we're jumpy. We'll jump. We'll jump at like the first sign of anything. And it's so it's how much can they pay us to keep us coming back and keep us putting new books in, because every book that's in KU is a book that's not on Barnes & Noble. And let's not forget, Kindle Unlimited is not just about giving books to readers. It's also about bringing down the competition. We're literally stealing titles from Barnes & Noble, from Kobo, from Apple. They're limiting their supply, and that's a big part of it. And I think actually Amazon, if I was to guess, is actually running in the red on Kindle Unlimited, primarily because they're not just doing this to make money. They're also doing this as a business tactic, because that's what Amazon does. They're not afraid. Yeah. They're not afraid to run in the red on anything, and that's kind of why they're the big dog, is because they're not afraid to take risks. But yeah, I think that the business side of Kindle Unlimited is actually a very sound one, assuming they can get enough people to pay $9.99 and then not read $9.99 worth of books.
Okay, so let's go back to Burroughs a little bit here. They just recently opened the Burroughs to the German store. They'd opened the UK store, Burroughs, a couple of weeks ago. So I'm noticing right now that my UK Burroughs are almost equal to what the US Burroughs did, which is they're basically 50-50. For the US Burrow to sale is 50-50, and the UK Burrow to sale is 50-50. What are you guys seeing on your end? Are you seeing that the UK Burroughs, the Unlimited and the different stores, is matching what's happening with your Burroughs in the US?
For me at least, and I'm actually just looking at it because I completely forgot it was on Amazon UK, but I actually have not seen the borrow rates in the UK that I have seen in the US. But again, my book is not selling nearly as well in the UK. Oh, another thing though I wanted to mention, all the Kindle Kindle Unlimited, I keep saying that. All the Kindle Unlimited numbers that I've just talked about were all for the US, were all for Nice Dragons Finish Last, for my fiction. My other self-published book, which is nonfiction, which is 2K to 10K, it had like a couple of borrows, but it's been mostly sales the whole time, which kind of bums me out actually, because 2K to 10K is 99 cents, and a 150 borrow is a lot better than the 33 cents you get from a sale.
But that that kind of makes sense, because if I'm buying nonfiction as a resource, I want it available. I want it on my Kindle, so that does make sense. How about you, Wayne? Did you notice a big jump in your UK borrows? You might be muted. You're not coming through here. At least I'm not hearing you. Is anyone else hearing Wayne?
Nope.
He looks frozen to me.
Oh, his mouth is moving. Wayne, for some reason you're coming in as muted here. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I think he's muted on his end, because on the Hangout it's not showing him muted. So.
No, Mimi, why don't you go ahead and take that question?
I have a short attention span. What was the question?
Okay, so
UK sales.
Yeah, the UK borrows and the German borrows. Are you seeing a big increase in those?
No. I mean, like I had, as you were asking that, the reason I got distracted was that I pulled up my chart. Well, yeah, like I'm having a huge increase in UK borrows, because the previous month I had 9 borrows, and now I have some borrows. Does that make sense? They only just brought it in October. Compared to sales, the ratio is not as high borrows compared to sales. So the adoption of the KU versus the purchases doesn't seem to be the same rate as it is in the US, but it could catch up in a few months, I guess.
Mine may be because they had both books on a promo last month, maybe then, so it was higher up in visibility or something. But yeah, my borrows and sales are equal in both the German and the UK store right now, just like they are in the US.
Oh yeah, no, I look at the German and it's like I have like 20 borrows for the whole month across everything. That's why I don't even look at the Germany report. Sorry, Germany.
Okay, so Wayne, let's see if we can hear you now.
Is this thing working? Hello, is this thing on?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Good.
Okay, so the question was whether your UK sales and borrows.
I had one on the first day. Go ahead.
Oh, so you said you had one borrow in the UK on the first day. Have you not had any since on the whole series, or
not a one on any book in the series?
No, there's technical issues there again.
And so a question on that too, Wayne. Everyone was seeing or a lot of people were seeing their book sales go down when Kindle Unlimited came out. So in the UK, did you see your sales in the UK go down since Unlimited came out over there, or not?
No, but again, I've had 2 BookBub ads since then also. And one of them was with a countdown deal in the UK, so I sold 50-some books on that day, just in the UK.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to touch on while we have a little bit of time left is whether you guys are using any other of the select kind of little extras they give you when you join Select. Like, have you guys tried to combine any free runs with other books to try to boost your borrows or sales? Or are you doing countdowns? I know that Wayne said he's done some BookBub ads. What about like other paid advertisements? Wayne, how did your sales and borrows work in comparison after your BookBub ads? Were your borrows higher than your sales, or your sales higher than your borrows?
Well, my sales have always been higher than borrows. I've only had, on one book, one day, it had higher borrows than sales, but other than that, everything's always been pretty much the same, probably twice as many sales as borrows. But what I did with the BookBub ads, I combined them with the countdown deals, and then added several smaller ads, some of the less expensive ads, in front of the BookBub, so that when the BookBub ad came out, it had already moved up in rank a couple thousand places. So that enabled me to get to a lot higher rank real fast.
Okay, and it was an ad at 99 cents for your BookBub ads?
Yeah.
And you combine that with the Kindle countdown deals, so you got the full 30 or the full percentage.
70 cents, yeah.
Okay. How about you, Mimi? Have you tried any of the other little perks they give you when you're in Select, combined with, advertisements or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm trying absolutely everything. It's funny. A lot of people will ask other authors a lot of questions, like, well, do you think I should do this, and what do you think will happen? And I'm just a little bit crazy. I just go ahead and do stuff, and then I find out, oh, that was a terrible idea. So, for example, I had a BookBub on a free lead-in, and there are 2 novels that come after it, and they're in Select. And sell-through was nice. It was good. Had a good weekend. And I thought, oh, I'll run these like fabulous countdown deals through the thing, because I never done one of those before with the 99 cents, $1.99, and then it goes up. So I ran this countdown deal, and it's like, oh no, like nobody extra was buying. Like, the price elasticity of that book has been determined through my pain of looking at it and realizing that there's not very much price elasticity. If someone reads the perma-free first book and they want the next book, it's not going to make a really big difference if it's 99 cents or $4.99. So I just screwed myself over out of a bunch of money by running those countdown deals. Yeah, for every single book is different. Every single book has its own price elasticity of demand, and no other author can answer how your how your book is going to do if you do a promo on it. I've been watching some series lately. I've been watching some people who've done really well with like massive, 30,000 downloads in a weekend on a free lead-in, and I see them getting like no sell-through to the rest of their books. And their friends probably told them that it was a fabulous idea and that they should pay the the $400 for the advertising and whatnot, and they're getting nothing out of it. And it's because that book, that market, that writing style, just there's no sell-through. Anyways, every book is different. I'm definitely trying all these things. I lose probably on like 9 things that I try. 9 things that I try out of 10 are just like a waste of time and money. But then you'll get like one thing that does really phenomenally well. So I put together an anthology of short stories with some other authors, and this thing just has legs. Like, it just keeps selling on Amazon. The customers like it. Amazon likes it. They're pimping it, I guess. And you don't know until you try it. So if you're going to go into Select, if you're going to go into Kindle Unlimited, try all of the things. Just like grit your teeth and just do it. Try a countdown, try a freebie, try paid ads, try everything. That answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I'm going to come back after I ask Rachel the same question and let you guys ask each other questions if you have any. We're kind of getting onto the hour, and then we'll try to pick up any of the questions that the audience might have. But how about you, Rachel? Have you tried anything with your Select? Have you tried any of the frees or the countdowns or any paid advertising? Have you found anything that seems to kind of boost those sales and borrows for you for your book?
I have not really experimented much. I haven't done any sales. I haven't messed with the price at all since it came out. And the reason for that is that it's selling, and I don't really want to mess with the mojo. Whatever is happening, it's good. I want it to keep happening. I did monkey around with my categories a great deal when it first came out, and trying to find categories where people my readers would be looking. And I ended up putting the book in YA, even though the characters are all in their mid-20s, and it's done pretty well there. And I think because it's really a new adult story, because it's about a dragon who gets kicked out of his house by his mom. It's a very kind of a starting out in the world kind of story, and I think that also a lot of people have told me my writing style is very young adult, so I think it just worked. And that was just, again, I was, as Mimi was saying, you just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. But then again, on the other side of that, though, I think you do have to be very strategic, because we are small business owners, and there are limited resources, and so I think it really does help, even though, you know, past performance is not guarantee of future profits, as they say in stocks. You can't really ever ask someone, well, what did your book do? Okay, my book's going to do exactly that. It still helps to do a great deal of research and to figure out what works, what doesn't. And one of the things I keep hearing over and over about countdowns is that they used to work and they don't now, or they never did, so. And this is just hearsay, and I, of course, if I was going to run a countdown, would do a great deal more research on it. But I think what you really have to do is look at how you buy books as a reader, look at how your friends buy books as readers, and then advertise to that. Like, I'm a member of BookBub. Like, not as an author who pays money, but as a reader who buys books through BookBub. In fact, actually, I think the last 10 books I bought have been through BookBub. And I love that mailing list, and if I were to advertise, I would go straight to them, because that's how I buy books. And I tend to, when I'm looking for a book, I actually don't tend to cruise sales. I tend to look at what's cool and what's awesome, and then I judge if the price is worth what I think I'm going to like. And, you know, as we mentioned earlier, I can tell within the first paragraph or so whether or not I'm going to like a book, whether or not I think it's going anywhere. I'm a very, very harsh judge, actually, as a reader. Reader Rachel, not a forgiving person. And but that's the sort of thing. So I think the best thing you can do to help your book get more sales and more borrows is to make sure that you have the right price, the right cover, the right blurb, the right intro pages. Because if your prologue is absolutely amazing, that's not just going to get you more borrows, and more actual read-throughs to the 10% mark. That's going to get you more sales. And past that, everything else is really just kind of trying to shift the microphone to hit the most people possible.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense, and I totally agree with you. Not only is it going to get you the borrows and the sales on that book, but it is also going to transfer over to the next book if the reader follows you along.
And in terms of like sell-through, like keeping readers from one book to the next, you really got to have, if you're writing a series, you have to give people a reason to go to the next book. I see all these writers who write these series where everything wraps up at the end of book 1, and they're like, well, there's a book 2, and they'll know my name, but I don't know half the names of the authors in my Kindle. I just know that's that book about werewolves that I really liked. You know, I don't remember your name unless I want that next book, like right now, like a crack addict. And
right.
Now, are you saying that you'd have to? Well, when you say that you want to give people a reason to get that next book, are you referring to like cliffhangers or like slightly unresolved arcs, or?
I think a cliffhanger is, and having used cliffhangers, this is pot calling kettle black. I think a cliffhanger is a way to do it, but not probably the cheapest way. What I'm really talking about is reader investment. And for example, in a romance series, there are a lot of romance series where every book is standalone, but they're all in the same world. But and Kelsey Cole, who's my favorite romance author ever, does this amazingly, where she creates this incredible world that you want to keep coming back to, even though the story that is there is resolved. And there's all sorts of other things happening outside the romance that are very interesting. And that's how she gets people to like.
Okay, we're kind of getting off of Kindle Unlimited here, and we're running out of time. We're actually at the hour mark right now. So I wanted to open this up to you guys now. Is there anything that you would like to ask any of the other guests, Mimi? Is there anything you would like to ask either guest that's kind of been tickling your imagination or whatnot through this discussion?
Oh my God, you totally put me on the spot here. Oh geez, I don't know.
If there isn't, I mean, don't feel like you have to make something up if there really isn't. I just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to ask questions yourself if there was something that you wanted to know.
About Kindle Unlimited? Oh man, you know what? All my friends are coming to me for advice on Kindle Unlimited, and I have no idea. I would just say, this is my advice. If it's $2.99, put it in KU. If it's $4.99 and you're selling on other venues, maybe don't put it in KU. So instead of a question, that's my little tip for the night.
Okay, that's a good tip. How about you, Wayne? Did you have any questions you wanted to ask anyone?
I'd make a comment. I agree with Mimi. Kindle Unlimited. The thing about it, all the authors that I've talked to, they're either really for it or really against it. There's nobody in the middle. So if your books are priced to where you can make it a little bit, lose a little bit of money, and you're not really losing it because your sales aren't really going to suffer that much. But if you go into Kindle Unlimited with a $3.99 book or $2.99 book, you're going to come out better, in my opinion. That's for what that's worth.
Yeah, especially if you've got a book that's just doing absolutely nothing and selling nothing anywhere. I mean, you might as well. Like I took one of my old novellas and put it in, and you know, coffee money, right? Better than nothing.
Okay, and then how about you, Rachel?
Again, like the others, I don't really have a question, but I do have a point that has been sitting in my head about Kindle Unlimited that it just hasn't had a chance to get up, which is the idea that Mimi brought up of Kindle Unlimited being like a different venue. And I think that's very true. I think the readership that is in Kindle Unlimited is different from the general Amazon pool. It's a different type of reader who is looking for a different thing. And one of the biggest benefits of being in Kindle Unlimited, especially now here at the beginning, is that it's the new exciting thing. Everyone's willing to take a chance. It's like, again, when Netflix first started and all that was on it was B-list movies and weird European television. And everyone was watching the weird European television because that was what was there. They'd paid the money, and that was what was there. And if you can get in as an early adopter, one of the things I found as in Kindle Unlimited is that it's let me kind of run with the big dogs, even though I am not a big dog. There were several weeks there when I go to the Kindle Unlimited fantasy page, and I was right up there with, you know, Hugh Howey, and because George R. R. Martin wasn't. There was room in the upper lists for me to be, where there was not room in the sales list. And that's one of the big benefits of Kindle Unlimited that I haven't heard brought up, is that it is a different audience. It's a different level of exposure that can get you new readers, and that's always the gold standard. It's finding a way to reach those new people who may not otherwise have heard of you.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right there. Anytime anyone can borrow your book, it takes away that wall for a lot of people. So I do think that it can bring you new readers. And I have had quite a few people that have emailed to tell me that they borrowed the book at first and then they bought it because they wanted an actual copy of it. So it actually can lead to sales sometimes too.
I've had a lot of that too, by the way.
Yeah. So I think Adam's checking to see if we have any more questions on the website. Have you found any more questions, Adam?
Yeah, we have a couple of things, just last-minute things about Kindle Unlimited. We have a couple that aren't Kindle Unlimited related. I didn't know if you wanted to take a little bit of time to go into those ones. They are author book specific, especially since Wayne hasn't been on the show before. There are several directed towards him. Of course, Wayne, if you're good with it, we could also have you on for a interview show one of these weeks and go over more of that kind of stuff with you.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. I'll make sure to write it down this time.
Okay, we're right on the hour right now, so how about if we just stick to the Kindle Unlimited questions, and then we'll bring Wayne back on for a full show and a full interview.
Yeah, speed round.
Yeah, perfect. That's what I was thinking too. So
Yeah.
we'll get that scheduled, in the next couple of days, Wayne. Some Thursday that works for us also. But the only questions, there's just a couple left. So Wayne, one is towards you. Earlier you said that their borrows didn't seem to be cannibalizing sells, and someone asked if you like there not being a barrier for new readers to your work, or do you feel that you've gotten not just from a money standpoint, but as far as getting more fans, more readers, is not having a barrier, them being able to download it for free. I think their question was just, is that working for you better, or do you like that approach of Amazon? Or
I've had kind of just a steady rise since my first book came out. The Kindle Unlimited thing, it just seemed to fit right in with what I was doing, and a lot of the readers who have borrowed my books on Kindle Unlimited have written to me and said they really liked them and wanted to know about getting a physical copy, a paperback copy, which I offer on my website. So I gave them the address, and they followed through with it. So it's been more than beneficial.
Do you think that might change? Do you think that might change a little bit? Do you think maybe within your sea adventure subgenre, do you see that there are a lot of your fellow authors who are also in that subgenre? Are they also adopting KU, or are they out?
Well, two of my close friends who are also writing the same genre, and one of them right now just moved into the #3 spot. I'm so proud of him. He's doing great. But in the Sea Adventures, and they both recently moved into Select. A lot of it had to do with recommendations from me and the exposure that I was getting because of it. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to help others.
Yeah, there could be definitely like a little bit extra cheese for those of us who are early adopters within our subgenres. If our subgenres aren't represented in KU, I mean, I'm in romance. There's, you can't click on Amazon without bumping into some romance books, but interesting.
Right. And as far as other questions, like I said, there were a few that we'll answer with you, Wayne, when we have you back on that weren't Kindle Unlimited specific. One thing that I kind of actually jotted down from Mimi and Wayne, you both kind of said that, borrows are either close to, or maybe you said specifically, they're at the least 1-for-1. So would you say then, for people like me or like us, for example, who are getting some sales in other vendors like Google Play, if it's 1-for-1, the amount you're making from other vendors, if it's not close to being, $1.50 times how many sales you're already getting at Amazon, then you might as well switch over. I mean, is that kind of math you're seeing? If it's
it's actually pretty. It's if you just take a conservative estimate and figure that you'll get one borrow for every sale, and I'm not guaranteeing this. It's pretty easy to do the math on that. Just need a little spreadsheet magic. You can do that. Oh, sorry. Lost my train of thought. I was going to tell you something else, but then I forgot.
No worries. And Wayne, I know you said that you've never had your borrows for a book eclipse the sales for it. Is it pretty close to 1-for-1 for your genre, or is it?
His numbers are quite different from mine. Like he was saying, like 2 sales to 1 borrow, and I just I'm not getting that on any of mine, so it might be different for romance. Sorry to cut you off there, Wayne.
There's only been just one book that for one day had more borrows than sales, and that was on the first of the month on the second book in the series. So you know how the first of the month goes with the KOLL people getting their downloads all at one time.
Right. Mine are averaging 1-for-1 too, so I'm guessing it may be a romance thing, but mine are pretty much 1-for-1.
I'm thinking that readers in my genre, action adventure, they're not real avid readers. It may take them 2 or 3 weeks to read a book. So a lot of my readers just aren't Kindle Unlimited customers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
makes sense.
looking at my numbers here, I've got a couple titles where the borrows are less than the sales, but I think like one of them is for an anthology, and I think it's because people borrow it and then they like it and they want to keep it, so they go back and buy it. I think that could be skewing the numbers towards more sales. Oh, cannibalizing sales. Here's a thought. Without a doubt, KU is cannibalizing your sales, without a doubt. However, it's not going to cannibalize the individual sales on your individual books, because those people who are already in KU, they're not going to like purchase your book for full price. I'm sure there are a few of them who are in KU and who are also purchasing books. So what I've noticed in looking at book to book, each individual book, is that my sales stayed consistent when I put my individual books into KU. So Adam, the thing that you're worried about, which is maybe people going to the page thinking that they're going to buy the book, and then they see that it's $0 to borrow, and then they borrow it instead of buying it. That could happen, but I think it's offset by a little visibility boost. More likely, though, that person was not going to buy it anyways because they're in KU for a reason. And they would just go and they would just borrow something else instead. Like some people have done an interesting thing where they put the first couple of books in a series into KU, and they think that people are going to borrow book 1 and 2 and become so invested that they're going to purchase the next books in the series. And I dare say I don't think that's going to be a great strategy. I would not recommend that, and if someone is doing that and they're finding that it's working, I would be very surprised. I would think that you would mostly get like angry 1-star reviews on your book saying like, why the hell is this not on KU? This is book 3, I already read book 1, book 2. I've heard already from other people that they're getting some little nasty grams on their books demanding to know why the books are not in KU. So like lucky us, hey, like getting it from both ends. Congratulations, all stars. We're all stars in the KU apocalypse world. Anyways,
I actually have had almost exactly the opposite experience. I've had more borrows than sales by about 20% over the last month, and everything except actually when it first went into KU, then I had more sales. But I've been about even or a little bit more sales. Like and this month I've had about 20% more borrows than sales. And I actually disagree with putting the second book, keeping one book in KU and putting the second one for pay, at least in my genre, because I tend to have very dedicated readers who follow the whole series, who are like, I'm in it the whole way. And by pricing my books at $4.99, they're still much below traditionally published books and my own other traditionally published books. And so readers still feel like they're getting a value, and they want that second book. And as you know, when you want a book, you'll pay a reasonable price for it. And so I think that having a first book in KU, when you know you're going to get readers for the rest of the series, is actually a pretty smart move, because then you have people coming in with just trying something on KU. Because people will try anything when it's free. And then if they like it, you end up getting readers for life.
I guess so. I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone who's doing that. See, if you're going to have book 1 in KU, then you're not going to have book 1 on any other venues in town. So what is the point then in having book 2 through 8 on other venues? Because
you don't have to put it on other venues. You can keep it in select, and you don't have to put it on other vendors if you don't want. There's no reason you can't be Amazon exclusive and not be in KU, because you don't want people borrowing it.
Right, but what she's saying is if you have the first book in select and then you've got the other ones all on the other venues, how are those people going to read the first book if it's not available on Barnes & Noble or iTunes?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
on Amazon, just not all in select. Just have book 1.
Yeah, you can just have them on Amazon. You don't have. There's no law that says I have to put it on Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, see, I would take the money if I'm going to have book 1 exclusive to Amazon and in KU. I would just because personally I've seen what a fantastic sell-through rate I get on these longer series with the novellas. I know if they get past 10% of book 1, I know that the sell-through rate from book 1 to 8 is almost 100% compared to when they have to purchase the books. When they have to purchase the book, there's always a drop-off. There's always attrition with every single step of the way. And I see like this really nice unbroken chain of borrows and reads straight through my series. Like, it's not 100%, but it's like so close to 100% that it's like, it's like money in the bank. And so as a producer, what you need to do is figure out what your costs are. Like, I like writing shorter fiction. So earlier this year in May, I put out 2 novella-length books that are standalones. And I love writing slightly shorter books, and I'm happy to sell them for $2.99. I don't need to sell them for $4.99. So I actually started writing shorter books long before KU came in. And so now that it's here, I'm like, hey, this is cool because I'm happy to write these shorter books. It's definitely not a very happy thing for my friends who write 100,000-word books.
Well, you could always experiment though. It's only 3 months you get locked in, and you can always take it out if it's not working.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. But I'm talking about sort of like the whole meta strategy. Like, if this is the world that we're living in now, where we have this kind of a payment paradigm, how are you going to structure your product so that you can get, reasonable amount of money for what you're producing? Like, if you're only going to get $1.05 for a book, are you going to write a 20,000-word book that's like a nice, fun book that delivers everything that you promise in the blurb? Or are you going to write a 100,000-word book? I would write 5 of the 20,000-word books, and I would keep my readers happy by, within that book, delivering a fantastic, enjoyable experience for them, so they keep coming back for more. Anyways, it's tough though. It's not easy.
Yeah, so what I'll say before we go into the closing with all this is, I've seen a lot of people that are, especially new authors, not established anywhere. I would say for them, definitely, with it only being 90 days, it's definitely worth checking out if you're first starting out, anyone just listening. And for everyone else that has their books everywhere, I wanted to just say, to make sure you look at your own situation, and you got to make a smart business decision about it. It can be scary. Like in our position, it's right on the fence whether we should do it or not, based on our money from other vendors. It's really close, even at the conservative estimate that Mimi was talking about. So, I wouldn't blindly go into it, just like you wouldn't with any business decision. Really look at it, especially if this is your only source of income. It can be really scary if you're making money on other vendors, to throw that away at a chance at making more. It sounds like everyone on the show today is definitely for Kindle Unlimited, at least for now, in the current way that Amazon is working. But definitely, just make sure if you're going to take the risk, that it's a calculated risk, and you look at everything you can on it. And so, speaking of that as well, kind of going into the closing, Rachel, I'll start with you. If you want to let people know where they can find you, and more specifically, where they can find the numbers that you were mentioning earlier that you had blogged about.
Yeah, you can find everything that I mentioned at my website, www.rachelaaron.net. And there's a link there to my blog, and the latest blog post, the one at the very top of the blog, is about it's called Nice Dragons Deserve Numbers, and it's all the numbers I've seen, including the fantastic Kindle Unlimited borrows I've been getting, and some Amazon tea leaf reading, I admit, but no, that's you'll find everything, graphs, pictures, the whole 9 yards. It's all there. I'm a giant data nerd, and I love graphs and spreadsheets.
And I'll say I've already read it as well, and it's definitely worth the read. I mean, it's a long post, but it's every bit of the post is good. It's not fluff. So anyone watching that hasn't read it yet, make sure you head over to Rachel's site. And Mimi, same thing. I know yours is a little bit more hidden. I know what it is, but can you let everyone know where to find where you've talked about the KU numbers from?
Sure, yeah. I run a little self-pub blog called genrehobo.com, and I don't have my name on there because I get inundated with requests from people for help. And I love my fellow indie authors, but I got to write my words every day. That's genrehobo.com.
Right. And Wayne, I know that by looking at your site, it's a lot more geared towards readers for sure. Do you have anywhere that you do talk about KU and your experience just on the Kindle boards? And would you also let everyone know where they can find you as a reader as well in your books?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about writing, the process of it, and everything on my blog. but like you said, it's mostly, both my blog and the website are mostly geared towards selling my books. You can find me at www.waynestinnett.com, and my blog link, Facebook, Twitter links are all right there on the page.
All right, perfect. So I know we started a little late, but I think there's a lot of really good discussion. And, you know, you got to remember, Kindle Unlimited is still fairly new in the grand scheme of things, so I'm sure we'll revisit it, you know, a couple of months or so and get some opinions from people, especially that have went with Kindle Unlimited and then pulled out, and what their experience gaining traction back on the other vendors were, because that's a really interesting one that came up in the comments as well, but it's something that we don't really have any experience with across the board right now, because most people that joined it are still in their first 90 days, I believe. I don't even think it's ran up for anyone yet. So for anyone asking those questions, we'll definitely revisit those. But again, I wanted to thank Wayne, Mimi, and Rachel for coming on and giving us your opinions on Kindle Unlimited, and especially, you know, backing it by experience, by trying it. So Mimi, especially, you said you go through the 90% of everything doesn't work and you throw it out the window. So I appreciate you doing that, so we don't have to, right? So.
Oh no, you still have to do it, because we never believe anyone. We never believe anyone else's numbers. We got to do it ourselves.
Well, every book is different. They're all different animals.
Yes.
All right, and for anyone watching that had questions for Wayne, I know there were some in the comments that weren't Kindle Unlimited related. It sounds like he's good to come back one of these weeks, so keep an eye on the website, and we'll post as soon as we know what day he's coming back, and we'll talk to him about, you know, actually the writing process and marketing and all that good stuff that you had questions about. But other than that, I think we are done for the night. Next week, we'll have another interview episode. I think we have that one scheduled, so the post announcement to that will be out tomorrow, so just keep your eye out on the page to see what next week's will be about. And for anyone that wants in on the after party, just make sure you post your email in the comments below, and I'll get you invited. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.